This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. And the Rays finish out their last ever home game outside victorious. Nice way to send off the fans. Nice way to send off the city of Tampa for now. Nice way to send out outdoor baseball in Tampa Bay with a win like that. So we're going to break it all down here. Bryan Lowe hit his 30th home run of the year. Was this Christopher Morel's best game as a Ray all-around game? I know he's had multi-home run games. All about that. Really good defense tonight. Big at-bats at the plate from Morel. I want you guys to know, we talked about this a little bit a few days ago. What was the best moment at Steinbrenner Field this year? There's a ton to choose from. The Meisner home run, Jonathan Aranda walk-off home run, just a ton of moments to choose from. I want to hear your guys. But first, let's talk about how the Rays finished over 500 at home this year.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Do you guys remember the Rays can't win at home talk from the first half of the year? Because I do. It was loud, and people never thought they would win at home. So they went in a stretch from the mid-April to the beginning of May, to the middle of May, where they won. Let me get this right. They've won, I think, just one home game, which is insane looking back. So they played Boston on April 15th. They lost to Boston, lost to New York, lost to New York. Four home losses in a row. Beat New York, then lost to New York. And then they went on the road, had a really nice home. Remember, this is when we first started doing the postcast. They went 5-1 on that road trip, then came back and lost 3 straight at home. Went to New York, won 2 games there, came back home, and lost 3 in a row. So the Rays during that stretch only won 1 home game. I remember that, and the fact that the fact that the Rays were able to finish 500 at home, over 500 at home after that was kind of bizarre. Not bizarre, but definitely crazy to look back at. But real quick, obviously, and I touched on this a few games ago, but we all know the reason why the Rays were playing at Steinbrenner. It's because of a tragedy that I'm sure affected a lot of you guys watching or listening. It affected me. There's still houses on my street being torn down and completely rebuilt, and people's lives that are still been just completely uprooted. And it's the same with the Rays. They were another one of the I won't say casualties because obviously they didn't die, but they were another one that were affected by the hurricanes, plural, that hit our area. So I think the Rays, as much as we don't like the Yankees as a baseball team, as an organization, the fact that they let us play at their spring training home where the Rays could stay in the area. I remember that the Rays had talks about maybe going to Clearwater, which would have been fine, but I heard like Orlando talks, all this crazy stuff when that first happened. But being able to stay in Tampa Bay is not going to be talked about enough. And I definitely want to shout out everyone associated first with the Rays for everyone associated for the Rays to get back to that point in order to play here, but everyone with the Yankees for allowing the Rays to have that home. And it was not perfect. The capacity was 10,025 or whatever it was, but I think that's an underrated thing that goes without speaking. The Rays were homeless, and shout out to the in-division rivals for giving us that home. But Rays end up finishing over 500 in this game, and the Rays got it started early. Big first inning. We've talked about it ad nauseum. When you walk people, and Joe Boyle kind of got away with this a little bit, but the Cano early, the Red Sox starter, in the first inning, walked to, it was a single by Chandler Simpson, and then walk, strikeout, and then the first of 2 Chris Morel 2 RBI hits. That first one gave the Rays 2-0 lead, and then the Fortes grounder, which Junior should have been out at home, ends up somehow being safe, and all of a sudden it's 3-0. And then the Rays kept adding on. Right, the fourth, Joe Boyle gave up his only his only run of the game, and that was right after the Rays threw out a runner going from home. Again, Morel started that whole thing, obviously, but so yeah, there was a big sigh of relief there. But then obviously 3-1. Then Brandon Lowe hits his 30th home run, and that's kind of a natural stopping point for us to talk about Brandon Lowe, because I was listening to the radio broadcast when this happened, and Andy and Neil made sure to talk about how most of the times when the Rays don't make the playoffs, it's because they waste outstanding pitcher performances. The Rays aren't making the playoffs this year because they wasted spectacular offensive seasons by Junior Caminero, Brandon Lowe, and Yandy Diaz, and Jonathan Aranda also, even though he's been hurt for the last month. But Brandon Lowe is going to finish the season hitting over 250, over 30 home runs, over 80 RBIs, not to mention he's going to play 135 games. And he hasn't played over 110 games in 3 years before this. So talking about that, we were kind of talking about with Yandy the other day, and kind of how Yandy is underappreciated. Brandon Lowe has had an underappreciative type of season, and he's done it with hitting righties at an elite late rate. He's hitting 281 against righties this year, and a lot of people thought he would benefit from playing at Steinbrenner. He hit 230 at Steinbrenner. He hit over 280 on the road. So I'm definitely interesting, to say the least. But yeah, it was a great year for Brandon Lowe, and I thought it was really kind of telling when Andy and Neil were talking about how the Rays normally waste pitching performances when they don't make the playoffs, and that's true. But you wasted 4 or 5 elite offensive seasons, and you're just hoping that the Rays can replicate that next year, those kind of offensive outputs from those guys, and then get someone in the outfield to make some kind of contribution in the power department, and then hopefully the pitchers are better. So, I think the reason why Shane Baz is going to be in this rotation next year is because his pitching style did not fit well to Steinbrenner Field. That's why his ERA at home was so crazy. Ryan Pepio kind of fits in that more a little bit too, even though Pep had a good year, is, kind of fly ball pitchers. So I'm very hopeful for like, I don't think that, I don't know, coming in this year, I'm like, oh yeah, the Rays are a bona fide, World Series contender, all that stuff. Next year, I firmly believe in the Rays should make the playoffs 100%, 100%. But that's a talking point for maybe the last postcast, or maybe not until February, right when spring training starts back up. But for now, we're going to talk about the turning point in this game, our player of the game, and the best home moment this year for a home game for the Rays right after this. This episode is brought to you by Zipex. Zipex toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or energy boost, Zipex has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zipex provides a discreet way to satisfy your cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zipex can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors, 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, the caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. So like I said, if you guys don't use nicotine, the caffeine toothpicks are also great for, big meetings or long drives. Gives you the boost you need in just a little toothpick. So go to zipextoothpicks.com, use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zipextoothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zipex toothpicks. This episode is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 pulled flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packets the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee. Plus, B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. And what I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot, and you can take it anywhere and get the boost that you need. I love how fast it kicks in. It's sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the flavors you love, or be bold and try something new in-store or online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And lastly, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can look at all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending. And finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify your earned savings as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice inefficient investments, allocation, and discover forgotten 401ks from your past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDON and it will be on monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. So if you guys are in the live, make sure you guys leave a like and comment. Rays win the last home game of the year, but we're going to go ahead and sprint in to our turning point of this game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So it starts in the top of the seventh when things got crazy. Red Sox score 2. Bryan Baker holds it just that. Really like him. Straining that tying runner on third with less than 2. Very big time. And the turning point comes in the 8th inning when the Rays finally get that insurance, right? They work the bases loaded. We talked about the walks, whole lot of walks in that situation. Bryan Lowe walked, the bases loaded, and then boom, Christopher Morel singled. 2-run single. That ball was absolutely blasted off the bat by Morel. And Brian Anderson said it on the TV broadcast. He said, Morel and Fortes, we got a single after that, were sitting dead red on a fastball. And they got it, and they ripped it. So Morel had 2 singles hit at 107 harder off the bat. That one from Morel was the hardest hit ball of the game, or second hit hardest hit ball of the game. So it was definitely a big time power shot from Morel. That's why our player. That's our turning point. And that's why Christopher Morel is also our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
2 for 4 of the Rays' 7 RBIs. Played the best defense maybe he's played all year. I expect Christopher Morel to be in the lineup a ton next year. And honestly, I think he's going to end in, on the 2026 roster, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. And I don't know. That's just a feeling I have. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. But, the Rays are going to have to prove to me under this new ownership that they're going to go out and go get a right-handed hitting outfielder that they trust. And it's not that. I'm not even saying they trust for Christopher Morel because he plays like twice a week, but they need a guy, whether it's John DeLuca having a bounce back year, or actually not even bounce back, actually playing next year, or, if they go out and get someone. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Rays do, but definitely want to give Christopher Morel his love. But now I want to talk about the best home moments of the year. Hopefully you guys drop them in the comments. We'll get to those in a second, but I touched on mine a little bit. Mine was when Brandon Lowe hit the game-tying home run against Felix Bautista, when the Rays came all the way back to tie the game against the Orioles in that crazy game where they trailed 8-1, came all the way back, and that was like the peak of the Rays season because they were still on their crazy winning streak, and they were making stuff happen. So that's one where I look at and I'm like, yeah, that was awesome to say the very least, and that happened on June 18th. So, yeah, that was crazy. It was 8-0, then 8-3, 8-4, and then finally Brandon Lowe ripped that home run. And eventually the Rays ended up winning 12-8. So, yeah, just a crazy, crazy, crazy game, and one that the Rays ended up coming up with, and that was like the peak of the Rays season because after that there wasn't a ton of a ton of good vibes. But last year the Rays finished 80-82. So I'm curious. Do you think the Rays are going to get to that? So to get to that, the Rays have. The Rays have 6 games left. They need to finish. They're 76-80 right now. So they got to go 4-1 to get to that, or 4-2 to get to that. So we will see what happens there. But let's look ahead to the game tomorrow before we get to your guys' comments. It's going to be, or not tomorrow, on Tuesday. It's going to be Ryan Pepiot versus Dean Kremer. And Dean Kremer has had his success against the Rays this year, which has been kind of an outlier. So he went 7 innings, 1 earned his last time out against the Rays. Time before that, 7 innings, no earned. And Dean Kremer has a mid-4s ERA, but against the Rays, he has been the second coming of Randy Johnson. So Ryan Pepiot will make his second to last start of the season. He will start one more time, or at least he's slated to. Maybe he won't. It might be the last start of the year for Ryan Pepiot. There is a hole, but there's only 6 games left, and the Rays have been doing a 6-man rotation. So I guess, yeah, it starts kind of the string of everyone's last start, and Ryan Pepiot's will be on Tuesday. So, Pep, let's just kind of go over, and we'll do this on Tuesday as well. He's had a good year for the Rays. He's 11-11, 3.7 ERA. And again, a guy that was better on the road. I was making sure. No, he was better at home, which was weird. He had a 3.4 ERA at home, 1.75 at home, 4-6 with a 4.2 on the road. This will be his 15th appearance on the road. And, like I said, the Rays have had really, really good injury luck in the starting pitching. So I'm just hopeful that kind of translates into next year. As we go to Gary, he says, let's get to the comments. Finally, Rays on Sunday Night Baseball, though not the way I expected. Last regular season game of Steinbrenner has to finally beat the Red Sox. A lot of trouble being the Red Sox this year, 100%, yeah. The Rays have not had a Sunday baseball game since that game against the Red Sox where they took over first place in the AL East. But that had to have been 2021. Yeah. So, yeah, it was the reason why the Rays played nights because the Bucks had a home game today. As we go to Douglas Bautista says payback tonight, a bit payback night, whereas there was a late inning collapse a few games ago. Happy to return the favor with those runs in the 8th. Glad for Pete to get the save, especially after the walk-off. Yeah, walk-off lost to Boston earlier this year. Yeah, definitely good for Pete. He's been really good lately. So Gary says Rays need to win 5 of their final 6 to finish at 500. The AL is bunched up like crazy going to the final week. Tigers, Guardians, Red Sox, Astros, all within a game of each other. Yeah, that last wildcard spot is going to be cinema. Those on each side. So I love Lego. He says his best moment was a Rondo walk-off. Yeah, that one will always hold a special place in my heart because that was the first ever postcast. So a lot of you guys were in here on that day, still in here today. Doug Bautista says, best moment was a walk-off by Meisner on opening day. Tough to beat that one, too. The Rays definitely had some memorable moments at home. So Alexander says, Bucks win, Rays win. It's tomorrow, Lightning's first preseason game. Yeah, it's kind of that glory time of all sports. Unfortunately, the Rays being postseason baseball, but October is where you get that, where there's going to be an NFL game, an MLB game, a hockey game, and a basketball game all on the same day. It's like the sports equinox. So Gary asks, what would you give Stu Sternberg's ownership grade? I would give it a B+, would even give them an A-, possibly an A. If not for the stadium situation, on field, they did a superb job. I'd go A-. You guys need to remember where the Rays were pre-Stu Sternberg era. They were nothing. They were the worst franchise in baseball. And he came in, went to 2 World Series, made the playoffs like 9 times, whatever it was. And he's made the Rays relevant, to be completely honest with you guys. So, yes, he's cheap. Yes, the stadium situation sucks. But if we're basing it on field, which you really can't with owners, but I think A- is the right way to go. As we go to our Genius, says still 1 week left to play, but I'll miss postcast next season. That's the worst news I've ever heard. Our Genius, but he says that's a good thing this season that's brought us all this postcast. Well, I appreciate our Genius. I'm happy to have such a great community to do this with. He's got I love Lego says both Bilal and Yanni's performance has been overshadowed by juniors, I would say, in this season, and overshadowed in a good way because obviously juniors had an insane season. But yeah, I definitely think it's being talked about a little bit less because of that. As we go to I love Legos, he said, I wonder what happened to Kevin Cash next season on the new ownership. I don't know the specifics, but there might be a clause on his contract that he could leave if new ownership comes in. I don't think that will happen. I know that he has young kids in school in the Tampa Bay area. I think he's really found a home here, and I can't envision him moving on. But Joe Madden kind of left surprisingly enough, so we'll see how that goes. That's because RWB says his favorite moment was attending all the Mariners games and experiencing the sweep. The atmosphere was electric. Yeah, that was like the second peak. The Rays season went like this and then peaked and then down, and then a little peak, not as high as the first one, and then back down. So yeah, that was definitely awesome. Definitely awesome. So as we go to Gary says the comeback against the Orioles was amazing. The sweep against Seattle Labor Day week was also impressive. It looked like the Rays have catapulted back in the race, and then Cleveland came in. Yeah, and that Cleveland that Cleveland series really changed their season and changed the Rays for the worse, unfortunately, for the Rays. So I appreciate all the comments. I love hearing you guys, what you guys thought the best moments were. We still have 6 of these left. I better see all of you, I guess, despite our genius shaking my head in the last 6 of these, because I've been saying it. I will keep on saying it probably in every single one of these podcasts. You guys are going to miss Rays baseball when it's over. It has been infuriating at times. They've wanted to rip our hair out at times, but you guys are going to miss it come November, December, January, before we're on to spring training in February. So it's going to be a long off season. So I know I'll be enjoying this six games. So I hope to see you guys Tuesday night after the Rays take on the Orioles. See you guys then.